Welcome to Big Boy Crypto, home of the BitSquad, the largest, the greatest crypto community in all of the interwebs, and also Pluto. An alliance is forming, is what I've heard. Today's a great show. We come to you every day at 5:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we got some great guests. We got some great topics. We're going to get right into it. We have someone who met a coyote this morning, and I think she means the four-legged animal, not the human smuggler. CryptoWendyO. Real quick, which one was it? Was it an animal or was it a human smuggler?
He is across the street from my house, and he had another animal in his mouth to go eat for breakfast, I believe.
And I was assuming the four-legged furry friend then. We also have, with a brand new background, make sure you check out his show with Elio Trades from yesterday. A really, really great episode. Both him and his brother, you know, they asked some really, really good questions. So Altcoin Daily, with the blue sky in the background. I'm not used to it, man. It's going to take a little bit of I like it, though. I like it.
You know, it's crazy. It's always been the blue background. I just didn't turn on the background today.
Oh, mind equals blown. Also, it's our first time ever having an episode together. It is Naomi Brockwell, our friend from across the pond. And he might get replaced shortly. He maybe not. I don't know. Maybe he's filling in for Ben. Ben had some traffic issues. So there's a proof of work maxi right here. We have Nick Dimondi, our resident head writer. Also, he knows probably the most about mining out of everybody in the office. So really, really good writer. Make sure you check out some of the stuff. So if you see a scripted video, it's a good chance you're actually listening to Nick, not Ben. Now, Ben, of course, puts his little spin on it. So, but yeah, we got some great topics. We're talking about the SEC targeting Brian Armstrong. No relation to Ben. He's the Coinbase CEO. We're going to see how that goes down. We also have Solana. No signs of it slowing down. It just keeps on rocketing to the solar system. And a major Cardano upgrade and a dire, drastic warning from Charles. And we're going to break that down. ADA gang, where are you at? If you like some Cardano, let's get a little hashtag ADA in the chat. I know we can get some likes. Let's smash through 1,000 likes, ADA gang. Is there 1,000 of you? Let's find out. Hit that like button. But before we get into all that, we're going to do the market watch. We're looking at the market. Woo, it's a lot better day than it was yesterday. That is for sure. We do have Bitcoin down a little bit. Ethereum is going up a little bit. Solana just laughed at the dump yesterday. Still up 69% on the week. Nice, as the kids would say. 12% on the day. It's been a huge bright spot in my portfolio, at least I can say. We look at the top 24 for the top 100 coins. We got Algorand, IOST, Harmony One, Shiba. What are you people doing? You know what? No comment on that. If you like your meme coins, we try not to attack you because you definitely will come after us in full force. Telcoin down about 7%. Aave. We're seeing a little bit of sideways action. Now, Wendy, I know you're breaking down the technicals earlier. What kind of action are you expecting for Bitcoin over the coming days? Have we kind of recovered from, was it oversold? You know, is it going to be maybe smooth sailing from here? Or is it still choppy waters?
To be honest with you, right now, this would be a no trade zone for me. And the reason why, there's too much sideways action. I feel like yesterday's candle was completely manipulated. Like, one of the things that I like to talk about on my shows, we use EMAs a lot because they show really great areas of support and resistance. Anybody can toss them on and figure that out. But realistically, like we finally broke the bullish trend of the EMA 21 and we're below it. We're even below the EMA 30. And now we're at this very, very important area of support at about 45.6. And it's looking like we're going to get a possible move down, bounce off of that EMA 200. So even if we do kiss $42,000, I do not think that the bull run is over. Just, I would expect some volatility and be very, very careful. However, I will say that this opportunity right now will allow you guys to purchase altcoins that you're interested in. So I've been able to get some of my bids filled and just hoping that we stay above $42,000 because it's getting a little bit shaky, but it's okay. Stick with your plans.
Yeah, just grab your shake weight, shake it out, and all will be well if you hold Bitcoin long enough. Hopefully it won't take too long, that is. But we're going to get right in our first topic here. The SEC targeting Coinbase, coming after Brian Armstrong. Brian actually tweeted out. It started out with a little tweet. So Brian Armstrong tweeted out last night some really sketchy behavior coming out of the SEC recently. Normally you don't hear billionaires say things like, hey, man, it's something sketchy around the corner. But, yeah, he was saying it's being sketchy. Now, Coinbase, to break it down, they had a 4% savings product. The product, it was called Lend. They announced it in June. They've been in talks with the SEC just to get a 4% yield on your stable coins. Not that crazy. BlockFi, they do double. You look at some protocols are offering like 500% APY. So they just had a 4% yield for stablecoins. But then the SEC warned it is going to sue if they release this product. So, I mean, they took to Twitter. Now, Naomi, is the new way to fight, a governmental agency, is it to do it on the interwebs with, say Twitter and engage your community? Or, would you say it's smarter to go into the court systems and do it the regular route?
Oh, goodness. Well, it depends whether you think that the court systems are on your side or not. So in this situation, I mean, you have this regulatory body who's refusing to give any clarity. You had organization after organization reach out to them, say, like, how do we do this legally for our product? You have Library at the start of the year. They've been in a 3-year battle with the SEC. They've asked repeatedly, how do we release this legally? And the SEC has come back and said, listen, we can't tell you that, but we can say that what you're doing is illegal. Now, in this case, it is startling how little clarity the SEC has actually given Coinbase. They won't tell them exactly what is a security. If you don't even have to look too deeply to realize that they're probably looking at USDC, which is the first offering in their coin, in their lending program. So, they're going to be adding other coins later, but to start off with, they're just doing USDC, and the SEC is saying, whoa, you can't launch this. We will come and sue you if you do this. So what, are they going after stable coins now? Like, it's absolutely crazy, because if you actually look at what the SEC, what their purview is, what their jurisdiction is, the whole point of the SEC is meant to be to protect consumers. Now, what consumers have complained about this? Not a single consumer has complained about Library. No one's complaining about this. They're just trying to take advantage of 4% earnings, because they're definitely not getting that in their bank accounts right now. Inflation is crazy. Interest rates are crazy low. No one's we're all just hemorrhaging cash at this stage if you have your savings in US dollars. And so people are trying to find ways to safeguard their wealth. Coinbase turns around and says, yeah, we're going to help you. We're going to give you financial tools that will help you do that. And then the SEC is like, whoa, you're not allowed to do that. I think it was John from Shapeshift who had a great tweet about that. He says, SEC, everything over 0.5% interest is illegal, because how dare anyone want to keep pace with inflation? It's just such a good point. And I just think it's crazy what the SEC is doing. I think in terms of fighting back, I'm so glad that Coinbase is going public with this and is letting people know what's going on, because then the crypto community can help. We can pull resources, we can push back, we can call, there are things that we can do. And hats off to Coinbase as well, because they've done some other really cool things. They mentioned in their statement, they said, all right, apparently the SEC asked for the name and contact information of every single person on the lend waitlist. What is up with that? I mean, that is such an overreach. That is such an overstep of boundaries in their jurisdiction. And Coinbase turned around and said, we have not agreed to provide that because we take a very cautious approach to requests for customers' personal information. We also don't believe it's relevant to any particular questions the SEC might have about lend involving a security, especially when the SEC won't share any of those questions with us. So I think it's just a crazy thing that's going on. You have battles all over the place. Obviously, you have the SEC going against Ripple as well. So, I mean, they're completely overstepping, and I hope that the crypto community rises up and pushes back.
Yeah, I actually retweeted that they're looking for the customers' names and information regarding those who are interested in the stablecoin yield offering. So yeah, it's like you bring up a good point. They went from protecting consumers to, in my opinion, protecting banks and their 0.4 yield that they're trying to give you on a savings account that, as you mentioned, does not even keep up with inflation. But so their lawyer last night, Coinbase's lead legal officer here, he tweeted out, they've been in discussion with the SEC about lend for 6 months, but then the agency just abruptly reversed course and said they'll sue if they start moving forward. Now, Altcoin Daily, do you think the SEC perhaps maybe does have some employees that are trying to do things for the community, maybe trying to work with these crypto companies, but maybe there's some outside forces, forcing their hand? Or do you think it's just, from the get-go, they're against it for, reasons to help consumers?
What do you mean outside forces?
Well, I would say administration force, people that aren't there, that come in and out with administrations, whether it's the last one, this one, or the next one.
I would say when I first saw that tweet, it was a little scary. I didn't expect. First off, I can expect anything. I think Naomi summed it up very, very well, and I just want to add that there's nobody that tries to be more compliant than Coinbase. They are trying to do everything right. They ask for, okay, if it's not allowed, that's fine. Just tell us the general guidelines so we can work within the system. And they give back nothing. They just say it's illegal, like Naomi said. What I found interesting is Mark Cuban tweeted under that thread that, in his opinion, this is the SEC's way of punting, meaning they don't want to decide from a regulatory, their point of view, so they'll kick it to the court systems. And in his opinion, that's way worse because it's hard to make laws or regulate for a global industry, even if this is just lending and borrowing in the court system. I think our biggest problem is we have nobody in these boardrooms, in these judicial houses on crypto side. Everybody else has lobbyists. Now crypto is decentralized, so it's very, very hard. I know some of the big wigs were trying to set that up. But in my mind, I think this is, I think it's good. It couldn't hurt that Brian Armstrong kicked it to the public so we can all know exactly what's going on.
Yeah, and speaking of, how do we get this? How do we get people on our side? I think if just 1% of the whales just gave 1% of their funds, we would have the biggest lobbying group out of every industry. I'm just pulling numbers out of my you-know-what, but it sounds
so
about
you're
right.
You're
yeah, 1% of the 1%, and then we have all the lobbying we would need and then some. So we're seeing it. So also on that thread, you're saying Brian's Twitter thread, Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, saying they might choose to go to the courts, but that's only as a last resort. So Nick Dimondi, do you think that a lawsuit would ultimately be good for crypto or bad for crypto?
Well, the lawsuit that's happening right now with the SEC is overall going to be good for crypto, the one that the SEC is losing to XRP. Honestly, Gary Gensler, I know Ben was talking about earlier today that there's a connection with Gary Gensler in the digital currency group, who is the overlord of Coinbase. This is kind of like a propaganda campaign. It's a lot of political theater. And I think there's some truth to that, but let's also not forget that, Gary Gensler literally has an evil twin, and his name is Robert Gensler, and he works for TD Ameritrade. So, both of these guys are big time. And Gary Gensler spent years and years and years in traditional finance. So they know the game. They know what's up. And today, earlier this morning, Jim Cramer was talking about Coinbase. Jim Cramer knows Gary Gensler. Jim Cramer knows these games. And I think if we can keep crypto in a battle, the more crypto is fighting, the better crypto is going to get. Because traditional finance has just been sitting back in their darkened rooms, smoking their cigars because they have everything in their pocket and they don't have to fight. But crypto has to fight. Crypto needs to mobilize, and that is going to make crypto better. And honestly, every single time there's a whiff of any sort of legal action, it just makes DeFi that much stronger. So, yep. You could, if in the highly unlikely event that Coinbase was to run afoul of any sort of law that they make up on the fly over at the SEC, which, by the way, I don't think they've ever protected a consumer in their entire history. It would just make DeFi that much stronger and would push crypto outside of the control of centralized governments. So all in all, it's just a bunch of FUD. Gary's trying to make a name for himself because he's brand new on the job. He doesn't know what he's doing. Yeah, he knows blockchain. Okay, he's a nerd, but he's also from traditional finance, and so he fears DeFi, and he said it in his speech that he gave about a month ago. He was like, DeFi's illegitimate, and that's why he's going after everyone, but that's not going to stick.
Nick, you got me wanting to put my tinfoil hat on, and I say this in a good way. Do you think there's any relation to the news we're seeing today with the SEC and Bitcoin dumping yesterday?
Oh, no. The two are unrelated. And actually, I was talking to other guys in the office, this is a great time for this sort of FUD to come out because the price is already down. People are like, well, they're just there licking their wounds. No one's really doing anything. And so, the narrative is not, oh man, the SEC is suing Coinbase. The narrative is like, oh my gosh, Bitcoin took a 10 or 15% dump, which, by the way, it did wick down to 42,000 yesterday. Yeah. This is great. If this were to happen in 2 weeks, that would be annoying, but fine. Let's just get it all out of our system so we can get 110K this year.
Rip that Band-Aid off crypto markets. Wendy, real quick, do you think that, I know this is all speculation, but do you think that Coinbase will ultimately be able to offer lend?
I think that they will be able to offer lend. And another interesting thing that I wanted to bring up is kind of touching on what Naomi said, how they kind of subpoenaed for all of the Coinbase users' personal information. The reason why I think they did that really ridiculous, lame move is because Ripple XRP went ahead and told the SEC in their court case,
100%.
we need to know all the SEC employees that were investing in Ripple, because we all know, or in XRP, because we all know that a lot of people have invested in XRP. So that's why they did that move. And it's actually so embarrassing for them and again, I'm not a financial person, or I'm not an attorney, legal expert, but just somebody who reads a lot of the SEC documents. It's actually very embarrassing that they would go out and they would do that. It just makes them look very incompetent. It makes them look like they don't know what they're talking about. It's embarrassing for them. We all know that there are a legalized cartel, the SEC. They are. That's what they are. And the fact that they are choosing to go after a crypto company like Coinbase, which is one of the top safest exchanges. And the reason why I say that is because they're a centralized exchange, and they've gone through a lot of laws and legislation to make sure that they're compliant and doing what they're supposed to. The fact that they're going after Coinbase is showing that they are fully out of touch with reality and as to what is happening in crypto. There's so many bad actors in crypto compared to Coinbase. And again, I'm not co-signing Coinbase's BS. They have a lot of issues, but there's people out here that are doing really bad stuff, and you're not even protecting consumers. You're going after a company that is providing a basic service. You're going after a company that's helping to improve the quality of life for people. Who doesn't want to earn 4% back on a stable coin? Stable coins are like the safest thing in crypto. So unless the SEC can really get it together and come up with a valid argument here, there is no valid argument. We are paying the SEC to protect us. Our tax dollars are going to the SEC for them to protect us, to tell us how to spend our money and what to do with our money. So yeah. Just think about that for a second.
Yeah, chat's loving it. They're calling you Judge Wendy. I will say, just on a parting thought on this, you brought up a really good point. XRP is trying to expose the SEC employees who are trading the crypto off the news that they are about to release. As Don Draper said in Mad Men, if you don't like what they're saying about you, you change the conversation. And what are we talking about now? Now we're talking about Coinbase instead of XRP. So that's something to think about, something to dwell upon. But go ahead, Naomi. You want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say Wendy's spot on with that last point about who they're going after, because if you look at who the SEC first targeted, I think the first crypto company they went after was Satoshi Dice. At that time, there were so many exit scams. There were so many people who were getting rug pulled, yet they went out the one legitimate company that people actually liked and was providing value. So it just goes to show you where their head's at. It's not about protection at all. It is about control.
Yeah, I think we know where their heads are at, and we're not going to mention that. But let's go to the next topic here. Solana will not slow down, is speeding up. It is rocketing. It almost hit $200. I remember thinking I bought some for $40, what seems like a hair's breadth, like 2 weeks ago. It was maybe 3 or 4. And I remember thinking, like, God, it's ran up so much. I think that I'm overpaying. And then, wow, look, that was like probably one of my best purchases in a long time. So yesterday it was almost 200. The bulls, they're ignoring, the broader dump that happened yesterday. Altcoin Daily, why do you think that Solana was able to weather the storm, so well when everything else was dumping like the sky was falling yesterday?
Well, let me pose this question to you, DZ, and all business owners out there, or channel owners, or just people generally in charge. How do you grow business in general? Answer would be you listen to the customers. And the two things in crypto that customers want right now, at least the past 3-4 months, is DeFi and NFTs. And we know that Solana and FTX, the exchange, have a lot of the same backers, Sam Bankman-Fried. And the thing is, with these centralized exchanges, their hands are tied a little bit with the DeFi aspect, meaning the two examples of DeFi are the compounds, the Aves, lending, and of course the Uniswaps. And they can't go that route because they just can't due to regulation. But NFTs, everybody wants that. And we saw the growth and the money that OpenSea got in the last funding round and how much users they have onboarded. So FTX says, hey, that's an easy one for us to add. And obviously we will make a cross chain with Ethereum, obviously, and Solana. So once people see all that increased, everything that OpenSea did, and we can steal a little bit of market share from then. Obviously, there's a lot to like about Solana for that. And, Polkadot isn't really tied to an exchange. Cardano doesn't have smart contracts available yet. So Solana, the natural choice, and they're implementing when the others are a little bit late to the party.
All right, well, you're bringing up a good point. Let's kind of dive into that a little bit. So Sam Bankman-Fried, they're wanting to team up with OpenSea and move NFTs and everything else. But let's talk about their Solana connection. They actually were Alameda Research, which is Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX backed. So they led a $314 million funding round for Solana. This was just in June. And also Andreessen Horowitz and some other big names, some of the big players were involved in this. So you've seen a lot of these forces. They have a lot of skin in the game here. Now, Nick, I want to ask you, because I'm interested in how you're going to answer this. So Richard Hart from Hex fame, he says, centralization is not necessarily a bad thing. You don't get mad at Bill Gates for having all the Microsoft stock. In this case, at least, it seemed like it was a good thing because their hands were tied. The large holders holding a lot of Solana reduced the selling pressure. So is it possible, like in this case, that a lot of Solana being centralized is kind of a good thing?
Okay, man. So look, you said the name.
I said the name.
Richard Hart is here's what I say about Richard Hart. First of all, he's that guy at Burning Man who's selling bad weed and is telling everyone a really good story while he's doing it. And he's a terrible person, but his story's so cool, but he's running an illegitimate business right in front of you. That's Richard Hart in a nutshell. So he can say whatever he wants to say about centralization, but 20% of what he says is true. The rest is bunk. As far as centralization helping Solana, I don't think it's helping Solana in the long run, because they need more rigorous testing for their network. And you can say whatever you want to say about Ethereum. You can say whatever you want to say about Bitcoin and how they've had problems and forks and 51% attacks or attempted 51% attacks. But Solana hasn't had these growing pains yet in ways that Ethereum and Bitcoin have. And part of that is due to it being centralized. So, I know there's some discussions on Reddit about Solana because it's proof of history. It's more susceptible to a DDoS attack compared to proof of stake and proof of work coins. So, but these things haven't really been sussed out yet because it hasn't had its moment in the sun. Centralization is cool for when you're making a white paper. Like if you're just coming up with the idea, like Satoshi did for Bitcoin. He had Hal Finney, and I know probably Richard Hart thinks that he came up with Bitcoin too, but it was Hal and it was Satoshi, and they came up with it on their own. But then they immediately put it out into the environment, and it grew and it got wings, and it's the strongest store of value that the planet has ever seen. Similar with Ethereum, it was a core group of folks, it was centralized, and then they put it out there. So Solana hasn't really been doing that, and that's to their detriment. Do I think it's going to be great? Do I think it's going to continue to moon and probably hit $700 this year? Probably, because it's cool, and proof of history is going to find a slot, and their partnership with FTX is that NFT/DeFi thing that they needed to accelerate their growth. Like if you look at the Solana ecosystem on their website, DeFi is like the number one thing as far as projects go on the Solana ecosystem. So yeah, they're ready and willing to do DeFi. Are they going to come out of the gate and be totally hack proof because they've been centralized? Probably not. They're probably going to be a bunch of hacks like what happened with Thorchain, but they'll grow and they'll get better.
Chess liking it, +1 Nicky boy. I'm seeing that everywhere. Richard Hart, the Hexicans, they're coming out in full force. Hey, I'll say this.
Bring
it. Be surprised if
There's
Hex
my Twitter.
Jumps.
Come at me.
Hex will probably jump up a whole bunch too. I wouldn't be surprised. It's Richard Hart. He's an interesting man, but Altcoin Daily, he certainly knows.
I own zero Hex. I own zero Pulse Chain. I'll never buy it ever.
Speaking of DeFi, we're talking about DeFi real quick before we go to the last subject here. Altcoin Daily.
It's okay, Wendy.
So
I like you.
When DeFi summer of last year, it popped off, it blew up, and no one was expecting it. Not many people saw it coming, and melted faces. When Solana finally has some of this DeFi ecosystem start playing out, and they start coming out, and these protocols start coming out, are we going to see something similar? And next thing you know, $500 Solana? Is it going to be hot?
It's, in my mind, the main factor on whether it'll be hot or not is how's Ethereum doing. Meaning for me, that's the proof of concept. Like all these other scaling chains, we get to see on the proof of concept, how much need and want for block space on Ethereum. And if Ethereum's popping off, then obviously there's going to be a spillover to these others. In the bear markets, I think that's where we'll see the real onboarding and the real work being done. But if Ethereum is doing well, I would say yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's go to our last topic here. Major Cardano upgrade and warning, as Kevin would say. If you like Cardano, let's get a hashtag ADA in chat. We're only at 2.2 thousand likes. We got over 10,000 watching right now. I know we can get to 3,000. It's not even 1/3 of you guys. So let's make that happen. Hit that like button, smash that button. All right, let's talk about Charles Hoskinson. We actually have a tweet that he put out just yesterday. I'm going to pull it up on my screen here. Charles Hoskinson. As expected, there's massive FUD storm underway. We saw the same with Shelley last year. It's nothing new. Just people wanting to burn down what they don't understand or feel threatened by. September 12th is a big day, but just a day on a long journey. We are all on together. And he's talking about the upgrade going live on the 12th. Now, Naomi, can Charles be honest if there were issues, or does he have to play like a cheerleading role and maybe be a little bit persuasive, saying things are a little more optimistic than they actually are?
I mean, I think it's a bit of both. I like Charles. I'm good friends with him. I think that he's also a very rational person, though. In all my conversations with him, he's always been very even-handed. So I would take him as someone who would be honest about this. Then again, you know, like Vitalik is someone who I feel like he will go out there and just say, yeah, it's all burning down, but we're fixing it. And you're like, cool, I trust in you. Like, and nothing happens to the price because everyone's like, yeah, you know, everything's going to be good. But Cardano gets a lot of flack from the community. I don't think it deserves a lot of the flack that they get, and I don't think they get as much recognition as I think that they deserve, especially like they've got some really interesting projects going on there, and I'd love to see them get more attention there. So I feel like some of Charles Hoskinson's response is maybe a little defensive in response to some of the flack that Cardano gets. So on that note, I mean, who knows what's going to happen there? We'll have to see what happens with the upgrade. But Cardano is one of the things that I'm keeping my eye on. Definitely some interesting things going on with that project.
Yeah, you come after Charles. He's got thick skin. You come after the ADA gang, very, very tight-knit community. But don't you dare come after the Falcon. I will come after you personally if you come after the Falcon. So do not leave the Falcon out of it. All right, so there's a lot of stuff going around on Reddit right now saying Cardano's broken. There's an exchange. It's MinSwap. Yeah, MinSwap exchange app. They've had a lot of issues. They're only able to do one transaction per block. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think a block is about every 20 seconds. So one transaction every 20 seconds, definitely not going to work. I just got a thumbs up from BJ, one of our node operators. He knows all things Cardano. He has Cardano underwear on right now. So yeah, one transaction every 20 seconds. Now, clearly, we can't operate anything if you're going to have a transaction every 20 seconds. Now, Wendy, given Charles' response and his optimism, do you think that they are all working out the issues here, or is there maybe something we should worry about?
This is the thing. I hold Cardano because I like money, and I know it's going to make me money. They have a very strong community, and I like positive competition in the markets. I think that Solana brings positive competition against Ethereum, Polkadot, and Hiko, some of these other chains. They're great to have kind of in your back pocket. But at the end of the day, it's taken Cardano, like what were they doing during the bear market when it came to putting these smart contracts out? Like most people spent their time building when we had this massive bear market. And that's okay. Like I get things don't get done right away. But as somebody who's interested in just making swing trading this and making a flip, that's fine, whatever. But at the same time too, I think that Charles' response was, he's a little bit, I've read some of his tweets and whatnot. I feel like he's a little bit, he'll tackle things head on. And I hope that he gets it released on the 12th for the people, because the people deserve it. Everybody's been waiting years and years and years. And we all know that 1 year in crypto is equal to like 30 real human years, just kind of like dog years, but different.
Yeah, I think if it goes well, it's going to be a good day for crypto. If it goes poorly, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw Bitcoin and everything else go down. So I think we're all kind of rooting for it for sure. So, the team, they published a lengthy thread on Twitter. They kind of explained what happened. We're not going to get into the details. I mean, honestly, time will tell. We will find out on the 12th how everything goes. So, Nick, is the main reason, let's talk about Maxis here, man. You got the Maxi sign behind you. Is the main reason Cardano has performed so well over the year Is it strong technicals and fundamentals, or is just the ADA gang some of the strongest diamond hands around?
The answer is yes. So I mean,
yes to both.
Yeah, I mean, you can't you can't divorce the two, because as a wise man, Ben Armstrong, once said, the markets are emotional. So like that's when you have a strong gang at your back, like that's the wind in your sails. The sails are made out of your fundamentals, though. So like you see how quickly SafeMoon has collapsed. It's because the wind, the SafeMoon army behind the sails of SafeMoon blew it over, and it's falling apart now. So, but that's not going to happen with Cardano. I mean, Charles Hoskinson, you know, while Ethereum was doing its own thing, he studied the blade, right? Like he was making Cardano, and the team at IOHK are making Cardano as solid as possible. Now, he may be doing a little bit of expectation management in that tweet, saying, "Oh, it's just a day." Well, okay. I mean, we're all expecting this day, and if it doesn't go great, there will be a little bit of some "see I told you so's" from the Ethereum Maxis, but you know, I may be a proof of work maximalist, but when it comes down to it, I'm a blockchain maximalist above all. So if you're making good product and you know your stuff, and you're not Richard Hart, then you're probably going to do really well.
Had to get that you had to get that little jab in, didn't you? All right.
I'm not going to stop. They'll never let me on the show again, so I might as well get it out.
Well, let's talk about some of the competing ecosystems. You bring up a good point, you know, so I believe they're up about 1,200% since the beginning of the month. No, more than that. They're up 1,567%. Cardano's up that much since the beginning of 2021. Solana's up, I think, about 450% on the quarter. We've seen both climb. You know, Cardano's all the way up to number 3. Solana, I believe, is number 7 right now. So, I mean, we're seeing a lot of adoption with Solana, but there's a huge run up for Cardano already. So Altcoin Daily, you know, moving forward, are you a little more bullish on Cardano, or are you a little more bullish on Solana for the next, say, last 3 months of the year?
Ooh, well, I mean, I like them both. That's a great question. If I had to pick one, me personally, I am expecting a buy the rumor, sell the news, you know, around the September 12th. Also because of like where we are with Bitcoin and Ethereum right now. Personally, at least I'm ready for it. I have all my expectations open. Am I more bullish on Solana or Cardano? I mean, honestly, I own both. That's a great question. I guess what you're really asking is, which team do you think will implement and onboard the best? And I think we're seeing Solana clearly do that. You know, they're signing sports stadiums. They're getting into their own NFT marketplace. Cardano, I mean, Cardano has the community that every single other chain wishes they had. Polkadot wishes they had the grassroots community that Cardano does. And my theory on that is because Charles Hoskinson did weekly live streams all through the bear market, just keeping the community updated or just talking. And then there was just points of contact that, you know, the audience could learn and understand and see the progress. If Gavin Wood would have done that for the past 5 years, I think the ecosystems would have been way more similar. But right now, Cardano is dominating in the grassroots section. So we'll see.
All right. You bring up a really good point with the buy the rumor, sell the news. So, Naomi, we saw this previously with EIP 1559. I personally was in the camp that's saying, oh, yeah, it's going to run up. And the day EIP 1559 launches, Ethereum's going to dump, and it's going to dump for several days. Well, we saw the opposite. We saw a record number of green daily candles. So I'm going to ask in the same spirit, if Cardano rolls out successfully on the 12th, are we going to see a repeat of EIP 1559 where, boom, just record-setting pace, overbought for days, doesn't even care, just shucks off all the bears?
I mean, I'll take a more macro response to this because I'm not a trader. I am a long-term horizon person when it comes to my portfolio. But if you look at macro trends right now, you're seeing augmentations in every single market. You're seeing so much inflation and so much money printing that people are looking for a place to put their assets. And so I think the primary place that people are looking is, you know, what's trustworthy. They are looking at the top coins right now. They are looking at people in the community who've been around for a really long time who have built that trust. As you said, you know, great point about Charles is that he has, I mean, his live streams are killer. I love watching me a good Charles rant in the middle of the night where he just gets on there for like an hour and chats to everyone. So he really has built up that trust. So I think as people are looking for a place to park their assets, they are looking for places to diversify. We are seeing that crypto is starting to, pull away from Bitcoin trends. Other coins are not necessarily following the same trends as Bitcoin, which is what we've seen for like the past decade. And now we're seeing some divergence there. And so it's not just that crypto is one big asset class anymore. I think that we are starting to see differentiation. And if you're not diversifying across different asset classes, you're missing an opportunity for diversification. And in a macroeconomic climate where there is crazy amounts of inflation, where a lot of people are predicting that, the US dollar is on its last legs and they're looking for a place to park their funds so they don't lose all of their money, I think they are looking to some of these top coins. So I wouldn't be surprised to keep seeing Solana go up. I wouldn't be surprised to keep seeing Cardano go up, Ethereum go up. I mean, all of these coins, they are working on overcoming obstacles, different obstacles for each chain. But it doesn't seem to be dissuading people from piling in. And even the all-time highs don't seem to be dissuading people because people are so anxious about losing all of their savings. And when they're not making any money with their money just parked in their bank account because there's literally zero interest, we've got negative real interest rates right now. So it makes sense that people are looking to like all across the crypto space for this.
Hey, I'm not worried about losing all my money. My bank's offering me 0.1%, and I wake up every day with a sliver of a penny richer. So I don't know what you're talking about. What's this inflation I keep hearing about? What do you mean my used car is worth $5,000 more a year?
Right.
What do you mean? What do you mean? All right, well, that's actually all we have time for today. Naomi, you are the winner. You took it home with that little nice little speech at the end. So we're going to go ahead and give you about 30 seconds. Tell the people what they need to hear and leave us with some parting thoughts.
All right. The message of the day, I'm actually going to continue what I said last show. Message of the day is the SEC is coming down hard on the crypto space. This is something that we need to fight as a crypto community. We need to be banding together. We need to be pushing back. It's a crazy amount of overreach that they're exercising right now. Everything, they're considering everything a security. If you look at Library's, the lawsuit that they gave Library, if you look at how they actually define a security, it really applies to everything, almost every single thing in the crypto space. And it's going to be a disaster if they win. So I would encourage everyone to go to the Help Library Save Crypto webpage. You can sign the petition. You can get your voice heard. It doesn't have to be with that. I know there are lots of movements in the XRP community. There's a lot of momentum behind Coinbase as well. Find a way to get involved and speak up about this, because the more we push back as a community, we've seen what that can do with the infrastructure bill. We actually got the Second Amendment discarded, and we actually just went for the original language. And that was because, and the Second Amendment would have been disastrous for crypto. We as a community managed to push back against that. So there are mountains that we can move as a community. So just go out there and fight, and that would be my ending message.
Yes, we can move mountains. And with the Game of Thrones reference here, as Littlefinger says, all that power's there waiting for us. All we have to do is reach out and grab it. And with that, we're going to end it today. That is all we got time for today. It was a great episode. BitSquad, easy out.